are tuned into my weekly talk radio TV show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced and get happy with Dr. Marissa. And this show is about hope and happiness. So there's no gossip, no scandal. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So I have shows and topics.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days.
Monday, Tuesday,
Happy days.
Wednesday, Thursday,
Happy days.
Friday, whatever.
Happy days.
What a day. Na, 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 na.
I love you.
I love you too.
Best known as the mom from Happy Days, and she is a delightful 89-year young Marion Ross to my studio. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Dr. Marissa, this is such a treat for me.
Oh.
My goodness, you're a wonderment.
Which is exactly the kind of guest that I like. Those who have gone through life, good and bad, and then taken those experiences to alchemize them into the person they are now and doing good on the planet. I'd like you to welcome Corey Feldman.
If you're grateful for it and you say right away, thank you, God. Oh, my God, that's so beautiful. I'm so blessed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then guess what? More good things will come to you.
Does this sound familiar at all? She's back again to mark my Cancer Awareness and Prevention Month show. Please welcome Fran Drescher. Hi, Fran.
On and supporting cancer schmance. I really appreciate it.
So what would you say are some of the biggest myths, Fran, that people have about cancer?
Well, I would say that they think that there's a cure for it.
Okay.
Instead of a cause for it.
This is the first call-in show when I get to be Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. And people call in to get their life tires balanced and their critical thinking or their BS, their belief systems, smog checked. And today I am delighted to have Malie calling in from Birmingham, Alabama.
We could go 90 days and end up having terrible sex. And then you say, well, the relationship's not all about sex. Well, if I'm not getting great sex from you, then I'm going to get it from somebody else. Right?
That moose just got put on the table. And I see Josh and Jim.
I have to agree
You're
with Clyde.
both nodding. Ramon's sort of half nodding because his wife's listening. But
I understood what was going to happen if Muhammad Ali's youngest daughter, made public that I was going to become a boxer. So I wanted to make sure this was the path that I wanted to go down.
You are absolutely fabulous, beautiful inside and out. And I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award today.
Thank you.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic point.
When I go, I'm gone.
Are you lonely?
No.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be
But
the answer.
I surround myself with people. I mean, I'm always the one cooking for things. But I'm always the one that decorates first and come to my house. All the orphans that have no place.
I'm going to have no place to go, so I can come over.
Come on over.
And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA AM 1050 FM 106.5. NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio station. 25 years strong, home to the Asian Oprah, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, Audible, Amazon Music, Tiki Live, Rumble, Spreaker, and more. Why so many places? Because I want to maximize my splatter zone for more hope and happiness. So if you've missed any of the 1,180 shows, but who's counting, please go to my YouTube TV channel where you free subscribe, or there's this small subscription as well for things in my Balance Marketplace shop, and or a little time with me every week on Mondays. You can get that all on my YouTube TV channel. And not only do I have great guests, I just had the love interest of Laura Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie on the show on for my Tuesday Talent. If you missed that show, great interview, gave me a little insight on the backstory for Michael Landon and the whole Little House on the Prairie set, all of the things that happened there. So not only do I have great guests, I have great series on this show. Every Thursday, you will recognize my co-host here for Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, James. Glad to have you back in studio. Today, we will start with breakfast as per usual. Some gratitudes on the top of the bun and appreciations about yourself on the bottom of the bun, because I like it on the bottom. We're taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich for breakfast. So, James, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for time. With time comes experience. Through experience comes wisdom. And time can, I believe, be your worst enemy or your greatest friend if you use it and wield it and manipulate it appropriately. The good kind of manipulate, you know?
Sounds good to me. Although I don't know where my head is this morning, but manipulate brought something else up. Yes, I am grateful that I am 33% packed for China, getting on a jet plane on Monday, going to speak over there, getting everything all set, downloaded the presentation onto the drive. Isn't it great that we can take stuff wherever we go? And very, very excited, very honored, very humbled by the invitation from 2 universities and a women's group. So I get to do that for the next 3 weeks.
Excellent. I'm grateful, sticking with this time idea, I am so grateful for alarms. You just set it and forget it, like the old Ronco rotisserie oven. That way I know that I can always be up for my early morning clients and whatever early morning thing might come my way, because I'm also grateful that I sleep like the dead, but I need a really loud alarm to wake me up. So it's the little things in life. What can I tell you? Most importantly, I'm grateful that I can pick what song I wake up to, because certain alarms are so blaring. I can, pick a tune that helps me slide into the day feeling okay.
You talking about Lou? No.
Well, we'll get to that. That's in the second half, when everyone's had their coffee and they're feeling spry and squirrely.
All right. I'm grateful that today my co-host is taking me to the Dodgers. I'm taking advantage of the Asian Oprah giveaway and stole the pass. No, I'm kidding. I get to go play with my co-host today, and he's going to introduce me to all the ins and outs of, and hopefully more ins than outs of Dodger play today. Go Dodgers. And I've only been once before. I've been to the stadium twice. Elton John had his last concert there. But I think I went and had a Dodger dog, which was the whole reason to go there about 20 years ago when I first moved to California. So it's been a while coming, and I'm really excited about that. So I'm grateful that my co-host is taking me. He has connections there and is going to teach me. I love learning new things. So we're going to go a little early, as I understand it. He's going to teach me about all of the ins and outs. Even though I guess I didn't have time when I interviewed Kershaw that one time to really get the game stuff. I was interviewing him more about the nonprofit that he supports.
Oh, the charity work he and his wife do. A lot of it in Africa, a lot of it for underprivileged kids here. It's really amazing. He kind of sets an example for all major leaguers with that level of a platform to make a change. So a difference in the world. And I love that.
Yes, absolutely. All right. And now let's go to the bottom of the bun, which is what do we like about ourselves? And the reason why we do this is because it's the good news is we are focusing on mental health. The bad news is a lot of people recognizing they're not feeling as good as they could are reaching for things outside of themselves, including approval, walking around with a little antenna. Who likes me with social media? Literally, how many likes me? And speaking of which, I got banned from Instagram for 3 days. I don't think I told you that, or 4 days. Yeah, I apparently violated a standard, which I had no clue because I've put like little clips when I watch what is that? The Voice or baseball games or hockey games because my bonus parents are into that, or basketball games. Never got a ding at all. I don't know if this is a new change, but when I was in the desert speaking, I took a little film of the French Open because I love the two guys that were in the final. And boom, I was kicked out. No explanation. Couldn't even contact customer service.
Yeah.
Because I just got banned as the first time ever. And it was a very interesting experience. After getting over the frustration, it was actually like, oh, I can't do it. I got time on my hands. So it was a really good. I appreciate that I have the ability to pivot pretty quickly when bad things happen or things that I don't like or I can't control, and I don't, it sort of disrupts my regular stuff. I say I can't wait to see what good comes out of this. And one of the things was I had more time because I wasn't posting as much.
Well, it's a blessing in disguise. A forced social media break is a good thing for, I would say, just about everybody these days.
Yeah. All right. What do you appreciate about yourself?
Well, you kind of stole one of mine, which is I was going to say flexibility, and not the muscular kind, because I am long overdue for a good, deep stretching session. Don't forget to stretch, kids. Otherwise, the aches and pains start creeping in. That's my personal trainer tip of the day. Really quickly, I'll say, if you say, I don't have time to work out, I only have half an hour, so I got to get all my working out done in the gym or whatever mode of exercise you choose. Don't do 30 minutes of all beating yourself up. Give yourself 5 minutes to warm up. Give yourself 5 minutes to stretch after. You'll save yourself a world of pain. But my flexibility, I am grateful for. I like about myself, and I'm grateful that I'm in the mix for a couple of commercials and a film. But if I book any one of them or multiple ones of them, I'm going to have to completely change my plans to travel. Like you, I'm leaving on the 17th, maybe, to go to see a friend in Denver, then see my mom in Washington, then see my dad in Jersey, see an old high school friend who I've worked with. I'm going to have to change it all if I book one, and that's great. It's a embarrassment of riches, I'll say. Oh, and then, of course, the airline canceled my first flight to Denver. So I appreciate my flexibility to deal with some of those bumps in the road as we go over them. Went over a bump yesterday, got my second flat tire in 2 months. Another free tip for the crowd out there is if you get a flat and you go to I'm sure most tire places do this, but I went to American Tire Depot. You can pay for hazard protection on the tire, which means if you go over a pothole, anything like that, it costs you $24, whereas a tire is going to run you $150, $200. So I saved $150 on the tire by doing the $25 warranty protection. The streets in LA, we talk about first world problems. Well, I got to tell you, the streets in LA are a third world situation. So my next free tip for the crowd out there is buy the hazard protection. I'm so glad I did, because 2 months after replacing the darn tire, it was flat again. So that's my other free tip of the day.
Wow. I didn't know that. Thank you for that tip. I do know that I have, on my to-do list to try to do before I leave, someone noticed a funny looking bubble on my right front tire. And they said that most places would cover it under warranty, which also I did not realize. So we'll see. Maybe it falls under that or under the warranty. But here you go. Useful things on Straight Talk, not just things that are a little tantalizing.
Well, I like to be helpful when I can, share some of my life's tribulations. So to save you that bump in the road, so to speak.
Absolutely. And thanks for joining us for breakfast here on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show, and our special Thursday series. It's called Straight Talk with me and
James Hawthorn.
I hope that you will repeat this good life habit, #Blisscipline, for the next 28 days with or without me on the show. Actually, I will be continuing to be on the air. It will not be obviously live, because I think there's serious firewalls in China. I still have to look that up about if I can even post while I'm there. But plenty of shows. I'm sure you have not watched all 1,180 of them. So I have some great repeat shows. I'm going to put on, Half of the Cash, the Happy Days. Again, for those of you who didn't watch those, Janine Roth, who lost $10 million to Bernie Madoff with her money. There's plenty of shows that are incredible people. And so please continue to tune in on KCAA, but I will be back live right after July 6th. So just a little public service for Dr. Marissa announcement. But thanks for joining us for breakfast. And I hope that you will continue. And tonight, do the appreciation so you get a good night's sleep and sandwich your day in the most positive way.
So, of course, if you missed the fireworks on July 4th, remember that we're back July 6th, and we'll come right back in there with some of that steamy dating sex. Well, not quite sex talk, but we like to have a little fun on the show, and we get a little naughty every now and again. So we guarantee at least a firework or two when we return to the air live on July 6th.
Absolutely. 6th. All right. And it's time for the topic of the day. James, what are we talking about today?
In the words of the Doors, come on, baby, relight my fire, ? We're talking about rekindling past flames. A couple examples of this could be you date somebody for a while, for whatever reason, it fizzles or it doesn't work out. Maybe it's geography, maybe it's right person, wrong time. Is it ever a good idea to rekindle a past flame if enough time has passed or enough things have changed? If you do so, what are some of the things to watch out for? Or should it be avoided at all costs?
So if you have an opinion about this, if you've had an experience in this, we'd love for you to come to the chat and give us your 8 cents worth. Ask James or I any question. We'll do our best to answer it. And that's here on my YouTube TV channel, which houses all of my live shows. You can go there, free subscribe. You'll get an alert every weekday morning that I am live, and so you can chat. So I saw eyeballs earlier, so we're going to just jump right in. As usual, the first part of the show on this is our own personal experiences before we start getting theoretical. James, have you actually had this happen to you where you went and revisited an old flame? And mine will be easy. My answer is no, never been done, probably never will, because my ability to allow people to grow past my experience of them, it's not a good thing. I am not proud of this. I have a tendency to kind of remember people from either the best, but mostly the worst interaction that I had with them 10 years ago. And so to allow someone to come back into your life, you kind of can't have that attitude. I'm working on it. I'm working on the fact that I change in 10 years. Maybe they change in 10 years too. But as usual, I like to tell on myself and be real on my show. And that's why it's called Take My Advice. I'm not using it.
And straight talk, putting the moose on the table. You know,
That's
it's not all bad though. I mean, you could say that's a self-protective mechanism, and we do have to guard our hearts a little bit. I think it's a balance between guarding your heart and also loving like you've never been hurt. You know, dance like no one's watching, and you've heard that cliche, but things become cliches because they often speak to a truth. So I think there's a silver lining there. I think it's a good, your self-protective mechanisms are strong and intact. And then it's a balancing act from there based on your tolerance for allowing people to change. For me personally, I've had opportunities to do so. Sometimes I've taken them, but depending on what that person was like in the past or what our interactions were, sometimes I'll put them in the bucket of, I would love to see them again, but we're just going to be friends. Or I'll see them again. We can have physical fun, but I am not going to open up my heart. I'll open up my calendar, spend some time with them, and maybe be friends with benefits if that chemistry is still there. But for various reasons, I might not allow the dating to happen. Now that said,
I'm so trying not to say open your calendar, open your legs. But anyways, go ahead.
Sure. What can I tell you? Sometimes. And then on the other side, if it was a really special connection and really enjoyed that person and there was definitely a lot of good there, then absolutely open to it. But I think honesty, transparency is the best policy. If I go and see this person again, there's an opportunity on the table now when I'm back in July from my travels, and they are too from theirs. If we do, in fact, meet up again.
This is a real situation.
Sure, yeah. Some of these topic ideas that I come up with, a lot of it comes from my own experience because it's more fun to talk about stuff that you're going through rather than just sticking in the theoretical.
Yeah. Well, if you think he's going to listen to the show, then don't answer the question. But if he's not, I'm really curious as to, what was good about the relationship, what worked in the relationship, and then what didn't work that ultimately left both of you separate. And what I'm interested in that hiccup, is that hiccup fixable?
Right. Because there is a chance that they actually might be. I'm going to respect the other party. So that's the thing. I love to engage in some straight talk, but I don't want to air out everybody's business laundry here. But I think that those are all the right questions to ask yourself when you're going into such a situation. And that way you've at least, identified the flags. Or you've created the boxes that need to be checked if you're going to go back in. And I think it gives you some guideposts on reentry if you do decide to start spending time together again beyond just hey, let's catch up and see how we're doing.
Reentry. I don't know if it's your nomenclature that you're using or my dirty mind this morning, but everything.
Yeah, I always say pun fully intended.
Over with the double entendre, triple entendre.
Oh, pun fully intended over here. Pun fully intended. I like to see how closely our audience is listening. Yeah, and let's just say this: you want to make sure, much like a space capsule, you don't burn up on reentry. You gotta have a good enough heat shield to make sure that you're thinking with the right head when you go into reentry.
And the little, the little rockets that are swimming up is what I'm thinking right now.
You're thinking about salmon. I'm thinking about rockets.
I'm not thinking about salmon. Anyways, okay, so you don't want to talk about that particular instance, but it did raise for me. I know between my relationship coaching, happy relationships coaching, and my co-host, my former co-hosts of Straight Talk, one of the situations that Sam was in was, which is a very common situation that I hear and have worked with, young men who don't want to settle down because they don't feel like they are in that space of being financially stable enough, emotionally stable enough, wanting to have children. They're not there yet. The young woman is. And so that is one of the reasons why it breaks away. And in cases like that, my coaching to him was, is it possible to release that BS, that belief system that you have to do everything first and then find the mate and have children? Is it possible that you can be in a relationship with someone who's also building, and you build together and grow together, and that way you still have the person? Because the woman that he was dating was like, if you can't make this commitment now, I'm gonna go fish and meet someone who is ready to make that commitment. So there is one of those situations where maybe it didn't work at that timing, but coming back around, if that person's still connected or able to connect with you, thanks to social media, maybe it will work. Either they've changed their mind or they have gotten to that point where they're more comfortable. Go ahead.
That's a great topic to raise, because how often do you hear when people that are married or have been dating a long time and it doesn't work out, they use the expression, "we just grew apart." So if growing apart can ruin a relationship, I think you have to be able to grow together. And if you're looking for someone that is already the complete package, that's a very, very small part of the population. I would dare to say that if they think that they are fully grown and done, that's a red flag, because that means that they're done learning, that they're not willing to grow and change. And so I don't want somebody that thinks they're the complete package, because that speaks to some ego narcissism issues as well. And so I certainly don't want to look for somebody that is, the complete package. We're all pieces of work and works in progress, I believe. And the key is to find, I think with compatibility, it's finding somebody whose issues aren't going to ruin your life, and whose issues just don't bother you, because everybody's got things that they're working on and working through. So I think being able to grow together is essential. And I think that if time has gone by and the issues that, prevented the relationship from working have been somewhat resolved, maybe it is the right time with that right person.
Possibly. And I would like to welcome Nemesis of Eden is in studio. He is hailing us, beautiful beings. We are fine, happy to see you here. We are talking about Back to the Future is how I've labeled it. Can you go back and have a future with someone from your past? That's a topic for today on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and of course my YouTube TV channel, where if you free subscribe, you will get an alert every weekday morning to tune in. We're going to be right back. Take a quick break. Don't go away with more of Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn.
Are you living in fear? Have technology and culture hijacked our minds and lives? Yes, fear is a natural biological response with plenty of evolutionary benefits. But has it gone too far? Find the answer to that question in the riveting book by Dr. Patrick Lockwood, The Fear Problem, available at Amazon and Mascot Books. So get your copy today.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. Thanks for tuning in to Take My Advice. I'm not using a Get Balance with Dr. Marissa, the morning show in our very special Thursday series called Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and my co-host.
Your bedheaded James Hawthorn. I've decided to stop styling my hair so much and just kind of let it go like whatever. So I've done that to just learn to relax a little bit. And also, I think it's a fun experiment to dry your hair off in the shower. Sorry for the sirens in the background there. They'll be passing shortly. Dry your hair off in the shower, come out and just see what it's doing and just rock that for the day. And I love it when I'll get a compliment on like my crazy messy hair as if people think I styled it. So that's an exercise I'm doing in letting go.
And the sirens are a reaction to that look. Just kidding. Just kidding. So we're talking about Back to the Future. Should you go back with someone that you went with before? Didn't work then. Will it work now? Pros and cons, your experiences, your 8 cents worth. That's what we're talking about. I would like to expand on what you were talking about before the break, James, with, oops, we lost him for a second. I think he probably got a call there. But,
apologies there.
Yeah. If you silence your notifications, that won't happen. So there we go.
Okay.
What I was what you were talking about, growing apart, growing together, it is always amazing to me that people believe that relationships should last for a lifetime, and if it doesn't, then there's something wrong with the relationship. And it's my BS, my belief system, that till death do us part is an enforced societal religious construct that really is damaging in some senses on your ability to find happiness in a relationship. Because if you think about it, coming together, even if you're moving in the same plane or a pathway and you have common goals, common vision, but you're always growing and expanding, the likelihood that you will continue in that parallel track, the expectation that you will grow and change exactly in the same direction, I think is a little bit like nuts. I mean, and yet we, we have a failed marriage. That is such bullshit talkie. It is a relationship whose time for, that stretch, I call it chapters in my book of romance. This is my BS, my belief system, that those chapters are either super small, one night stands, or they are super long, a lifetime, like my bonus parents, 74 years of marriage. Not very common, but the average, in my humble esteem, or not so humble, is you can have relationships. Your high school relationship was a chapter, your college relationship was a chapter, all of these are chapters, and they're all not their fault if the relationship did not work. So for me, that chapter was a chapter. And whether you go back to the future or not, it's a whole new ball game, because we're going to the Dodgers. It's a whole new a chapter. So you're not dating or having a relationship with the same person you did that first time. It's an entirely different chapter. So it is my my BS that yes, you can do that, right? Because it is a whole different set of things. Now, the caveat is if you cannot forget or capsulize that former relationship and not be looking for the same things that had you separate, you're going to be in trouble. And the best example of this is having an affair, betrayal. I've had several therapists on who've talked about, can you still have a relationship after there's been cheating? And a lot of these relationships that come back together, some of them, not a lot, but some of them are, you broke apart because somebody had an affair and you come back together. If you can't forget about that affair, don't bother trying, because that's good. It's the Pygmalion effect. You're always going to be looking for signs that that's going to happen again. And what you think you're going to see, you will see. That's the power of your mind. You won't see data that he's not or she's not going to cheat. You will only see, he just, paid attention to someone walking by. It's the power of our selective perception. Don't bother having that relationship.
That's a great point. That's a great point. First of all, know thyself. I mean, if that's not something that you can truly forgive, and sometimes I'm going to say that part of true forgiveness is being able to forget, because if you can't forget it, you're looking for it and you'll find it. Even if they're not going to cheat, the little behaviors will probably drive you nuts. And to go back to the marriage example, and for those folks that are married, I'm going to give an example of one where Back to the Future did work, and it's a celebrity. The story's quite beautiful. Jimmy Buffett, who recently passed, met his wife in 1972 when she was on spring break. He was just a few years older, like literally just a few years older. They were only a few years apart, and they fell in love immediately, and they got married a couple of years later, before Margaritaville came out and all that. But in the early 80s, after being married for, I don't know, maybe 7 years or so, they split because she realized that she had grown up with all of this partying and, young party life. And she said, I don't know who I am. So for me, I need to go and do that. Jimmy, you're doing your thing. You're, successful, you're touring, and you're still living this lifestyle. And I can't figure out who I am if I live that lifestyle with you. So in a way, that wasn't a rejection of him, but it was her saying, I need to know myself. I need to do this for me, and I accept who you are. They never actually got divorced, if I have that right. They just separated. And after about 8 years, they came back together. I guess they stayed in touch here and there. They came back together and realized that there wasn't anybody else for them. And from 1990-ish until he passed in 2023, 33 years more of beautiful marriage. They had 10 years in the beginning, a 10-year break, and then 33 more years together and 3 kids. Wow. And they had a lovely, beautiful, supportive relationship. So I want to share that story, because while uncommon, I think it is quite possible. And if you really love somebody and there was that special connection there, I think it's certainly possible. And they did have one daughter together when they had split. So there was that already kind of there. There already was a family that they had started to create. Now, I will give some examples from my past where it was not a good idea. So
before you go on that, did they have relationships with other people in between?
I would have to imagine over 8 years they did, especially, with Jimmy traveling the world, playing all over. I imagine both of them did. She is a very beautiful woman and always was. I'd be shocked if they had it.
Okay. Just curious.
But I don't believe either one of them ever got married or anything like that, because Jimmy and Jane never actually got divorced, as far as I know.
Right. Cool. Okay. Into the juice of your life.
So one guy I dated a long time ago, he was in a very successful position. His career was definitely on the rise. I was still trying to get established as an actor and build my personal training career. And he said that one thing that really bothered him was the income, the money disparity, which is something that you've mentioned in the past. And one reason he cited for wanting to break up. And I had some reasons, some things that weren't working for me. But the fact that he said that, I was really hurt by that, because to me, I'm like, well, that's not the most important thing, especially for a couple of young people, a couple of young, men that are already independent. We had our own independent lives. There was no dependency or sharing of finances. So I said, why does this matter? And that personally really hurt me. But it wasn't even that issue. If we were on equal income disparity, or if we were on equal income, more or less, and we were both single, I don't think I know I wouldn't want to go back with that person, because it says something about their value system and their character, that they would cite that as the reason for wanting to break up. And when you're talking about something that's fundamental to an individual, that's not something you can sit around and wait for or hope to change. So that's one thing that where for me, it would be a no. There was another guy even before that where they wanted to break up because of geography. They were in law school on the East Coast and had no intention of being on the West Coast. I had no intention of going back to the East Coast. We had met on the East Coast, attempted long distance for a month and a half or so, a couple months, and had seen each other a few times. But he ultimately was very practical and pragmatic. And while I like that trait, I sensed like a lack of adventure. And while I don't want somebody reckless and careless, I want somebody that is adventurous. And that's something that maybe over time would develop. If I noticed more of that trait and geography was more in line, I would consider going back, with that individual. But they'd have to have a slightly greater sense of adventure. I don't want somebody who's complacent or not complacent, but who truly is satisfied and enjoys the 9-to-5 life. Because that's not that important to me, that stability,
Right.
So those are two examples where.
What about opposites attracting, though? Like I know a lot of couples who, one loves to travel and the other one doesn't. And it's so weird, because you would think that that's something you would want to have in common, right? But is it possible that works? That disparity, and you don't have to have that as a common point. I mean, certainly conflict. There's conflict because one wants to do something, one doesn't. For me, I have to have someone who wants to enjoy the deliciousness of life with good food and learning new things, and enjoying wherever you are in the world and experiencing new experiences. That is like, I can't even imagine being in a relationship with someone who just wants to stay home all the time. Like, that's just not right. However, I've also I understand that when you're filling out profiles and stuff, you don't always want to do that. I had a guy when we were chatting, and goes, so you're not into sitting on the couch and just binging on. And I go, oh, absolutely. I want to do that too, right? Balance. But it's interesting to make that blanket statement that either you are a traveling fool or you're a couch potato is right.
Right. I mean, well, a couple things there with the opposites attract, and we actually talked about this on a past show. I think, yes, opposites can attract and it can work, but you do have to have enough in common where you like doing, some of the same things together. Because I think what really makes a relationship work is you like spending time together, which means you have to like doing at least some of the same things. And then the second thing is communication. Your communication styles don't have to be the same, but they at least have to be compatible in that when disagreements come up, you can talk through them in a loving and respectful way. I think those two things are absolutely essential. And when you were talking about enjoying the delicious things in life, to go back to the income disparity example with that individual from the past, they said, well, I mean, what if I want to go on nice trips and you can't afford it? I said, well, look, I don't have to go on every trip with you, but I would like to go on some of them, and I will, save up to do that because I like doing that too. I just might not pay for a first class ticket or a business class ticket. If you want to go out for an extravagant meal, I might just get an appetizer and eat something from like a street vendor before, right? Like if we're, if I'm not going to expect you or ask you to pay to have me come along with you, but I'm still there doing all the experiences. And, if that still bothers you, I think that's a weakness in character on their part. So,
I'm gonna be straight for a second because my, the disparity in my marriage between my husband and I don't think that I am weak of character by now wanting to date someone who is closer in that range to match. So I'm gonna straight talk you and say that I don't think that judgment's fair because it is part of the match in a relationship. I don't want to have to feel like I should pay for you, even though you're not asking me to pay for you. And if I want you by my side in a first class on the way somewhere, the only way to do that is for me to pay. Right. So it is one of those things that I don't think is a character thing. I think it is a match thing. I think that the expectation that someone has the financial wherewithal to live a style of living that you would like. I mean, God knows I had to pay in the divorce because he had become accustomed to my lifestyle kind of thing. That it's only, it's only fair in my mind that it's okay to ask that from someone. And I can say, I'm not interested. I mean, you're a lovely person, but I'm looking for someone who's more of a match on financial stability or on the ability to live a lifestyle that's, more than appetizers.
I think that's fair if you're talking about like a potential marriage partner, which I think is where, you're at in life and where you've been at in life, having had one. You said you're never going to get married again, but the type of relationship that you're looking for me, when this all went down, I was in my late 20s. And so to ask that when there's no talk of marriage or that kind of thing in that chapter in our lives, to me, it's like if it makes you feel awkward that we're flying on the same plane, but I'm choosing to pay for a coach ticket, and once we get there, we're going to do all the same activities. If that makes you feel awkward, to me, I'm saying I think that's kind of a weakness of character. It's like we both made independent choices, and we're both finding a way to do the thing together. To me, if I'm proposing a solution to their objection, and they're like, no, that would just make me feel awkward. I'm like, well, you're entitled to your feelings, but I think that's, if the roles were reversed, I'd be okay with that, because I think everybody, I respect people that want to solve problems, and if it's a pretty easy fix, like we're on the same damn plane and we're going to the same place and we're gonna do the same things. I mean, like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, I don't have the blooper button, so watch.
I think that was okay for the FCC.
Actually, it's not, but
okay.
I'll go back and fix. But but like, I'm gonna boost on the table again at the risk of like not having my Dodger date tonight. The judgment that if they don't see it as a solution or a problem solution the way I do, that makes their character shallow, is what I was hearing. So
not everybody's this. I'm speaking to this person, this conversation. the way that conversation went down. I'm not making a blanket statement about everybody. I'm saying that that's how I interpreted it with this individual, you know, in the way that we had that discussion. But you know, it's all about what we value, and if that's really important to you, that's fine. And you know, and like we also said, I mean, it's what other people think of you is none of your business. If that's your value system, that's yours. And if my value system is more about, hey, let's find solutions if everything else is good and we can't get over this one little thing, I find that to be a weakness in character.
Okay.
You know, and I did in that one situation.
So now now I know why I'm hammering on this, because is it possible that anytime there is not a match, that instead of saying it's a weakness of character, to say it's just not a match? That's why it's continuing to come up for me, is that I believe, it's my BS, that a lot of the problems that relationships have is because when things aren't jiving, it's easier to say, well, they, you know, oh, I should have seen the red flags. I mean, every time you go home on the holidays and someone said, so what happened with that relationship? Oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't it be great if we just said it just wasn't a match? They're not bad. There's no weakness of character. I know it was this particular instance, but I am trying to like make that bigger point, which is my Happy 88 mission is about how do we bring happiness on things that are just so problematic when it comes to happiness, relationships being like one of the number one things. And part of that is because I do it too, you know, instead of saying it's not a match, we go to, you know, weakness of character, whatever that judgment is. That was why it kept, I'm hammering on it. So that's why I keep putting
agree
on the table.
No, I agree that it's certainly healthier and more conducive to happiness when you can just say, well, that's not a match. And, you know, you can parcel it down and you can be accusatory towards the other individual by saying, well, if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't do that. But hey, that's the difference between my value system and theirs. And I think allowing space for people to have theirs and you to have yours without accusing or villainizing the other person is certainly more healthy. However, rejection stinks. And when someone says, I don't want to be with you because you're not as good as me at making money, it's a blow to the pride and the ego. So, you know, it's all about being personal. And so I'm sharing my personal feelings about something that hurt at the time. But I certainly agree with you that if you can do that and make it more about, look, it's not a match. Everyone's entitled to their own value systems and opinions, and so be it, rather than layering on that judgment of awkwardness is weakness of character and, oh, I'm sorry you feel awkward, then it's certainly healthier. I agree. But hey, as I said earlier, I'm a piece of work and a work in progress. God help.
And you're a wonderful piece of work. And we are all 88% fabulous. 12% of the time we're human and we step in it for sure. Obviously, this did hit some button from your past. I know for myself, what triggers me is I was constantly told by well-meaning people who were more mean than well, and it continues. It will smack. It'll hit that button when someone says, well, if I were you, or if I were in their shoes, I would. And it just is like, but you are not them. You will never be them. You'll never fully understand what it's like to be walking in their moccasins. So to say that to me is, it triggers me. So just so you know that's something.
I think that's really fair. I think it's fair because it goes back to the golden rule versus the platinum rule. It doesn't matter what you would do if you're them, because their experiences have shaped them to have their value system, just as, you know, yours have shaped you. And it's this idea that it's not good enough to treat other people the way you want to be treated. You have to treat other people the way they want to be treated. And if you're not able to do that, it's not a match.
Perfect. Platinum costs more than gold, so it does take more work to do that, because you have to understand them enough so that you're not assuming that just because you like it that way, that they like it that way. So we've got some great comments. I was hoping you would chime in here. Nemesis of Eden, compatibility is a big thing, as well as being able to build your relationship. You definitely need to have some sort of match, as Dr. Marissa says. But I also get where James is coming from. And I feel you, James, as someone who used to make bank before my accidents. It's hard to accept that some people need that in a relationship. I wish I could provide that right now, but I need to find, and we lost the rest of that. But I'm guessing, you need to find someone who values you not just for money or your bank, but also for the person that you are. That's my guess, is what you're going to finish that with. So yeah, but it's, and maybe we have to do this show again with the money thing, because I don't think it's more complicated than we make it, that, we'll just compromise or whatever. It really is, one of those, it hits self-worth, it hits compatibility, it hits judgment, it hits, because I can remember when I was generating a lot of money, and I would love to treat, right? I would love to, whether it was for ego or because I wanted to treat my loved ones, kind of thing. But after a while, there is that expectation that I'm going to do it. And then after the divorce, is like, I had to literally say, I'm sorry, but I'm not in that position anymore to be able to do that. And then I felt bad because I thought they expected it. It was just a mess. Money.
Oh, it's loaded. Money is such a loaded topic. Regardless, I mean, even outside of intimate romantic relationships. So when you put it in a romantic relationship, that's definitely a full topic in its own right. But hey, with only about 2.5 minutes left, maybe we should go into our final thoughts on rekindling.
We always do this. We start with the topic and then we go, okay, it's a good thing we have final word. What's your final word, James?
My final word is that while it's uncommon, people can change. And if enough time, I said I'm grateful for time at the beginning of the show, but enough time has passed and you see evidence of some of those things changing in that person that maybe caused incompatibilities, sure, give it a shot. But I think it's important to create a framework for success, create the boxes that need to be checked for you to maybe allow yourself to go back to the past to create a future.
Well said. My final word on the topic is go back to the future, but only if you can suspend and have amnesia around the things that broke you up in the first place. Because if you don't, you're going to have Pygmalion effect, and you will only notice those things that reinforce the reason you broke up in the first place. That's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Straight Talk with Dr. Marissa and
James Hawthorn. Go out and be happy, because as Dr. Marissa just said, resentment ruins romance.
Ooh, I love it. Tune in tomorrow. It is the Hollywood Rebel Report with Ricky Rebels. You want to keep it tuned here. And remember, it's all about balance. Peace in, peace out. World peace through inner peace. Now go and have the best day ever. We'll see you tomorrow.